This is a 5-minute call from the Green Party. I call Jan Logie.
Thank you, and in a very similar vein to my Labour colleague, Poto Williams, I rise to take a call on the third reading of sale and supply alcohol extending licensing hours during the Rugby World Cup bill. And as I've said already, the Green Party is opposing this bill, and I am proud of that. I know not everyone agrees with our position on this, and many people are presenting us as wowsers for our position. But I am proud to stand and represent those who believe in local decision-making and those who want to unhinge that harmful relationship between alcohol and rugby, particularly in relationship to domestic violence in this country. As a country, we do have a problematic drinking culture, and there are strong links between alcohol and violence in this country, where the police have reported that 33% of all family violence incidents involve alcohol and 50% of all serious violent crime involve alcohol. And we know the evidence tells us that late night and early morning consumption of alcohol is linked with increased levels of intoxication and alcohol-related harm. That is the evidence. And there is a strong evidence that levels of risk and harm associated with family violence are increased when alcohol is involved, and that extended opening hours increases alcohol-related harm. There is clear evidence that links the impacts of rugby and drinking and connects that to family violence. Ask any women's refuge after we've lost a match. They know, and the women and children who are living through it know. According to the Family Violence Death Review Committee, just last year, 31% of family violence deaths in New Zealand between 2009 and 2012 occurred, and I quote, in the context of a social gathering of people who had been drinking alcohol for an extended period of time during the day and into the evening. So, here we are, overriding an existing bill where there are adequate provisions included in the Sale and Supply of Alcohol Act 2012 to obtain special licences for special events such as the Rugby World Cup. Special events are associated with increased risk of alcohol-related harm, and as such, they require additional oversight and management. That was the agreement that this House came to in 2012 when they passed the Act that is currently being overridden in a very truncated process by this House. It was a 5-year process going through the Law Commission's work and extensive debate within this House that is now being overridden on a whim, I would suggest. And I've heard my colleague Kevin Haig said, and so what will be next? So is it the Cricket World Cup? Will it be the Hockey World Cup? How many other times will we have this come to us? Darts, as we're having suggested here. And I heard a National Party member saying, well, I hope so, because that is actually the intent of this bill, is to override the legislation that took us 5 years of debate and so much public consultation to get to help us reduce the harm that is caused by alcohol. And now, to be overriding that and saying, when the police presented to the committee and informed the committee that they did not support this bill because they believed that the measures in place at the moment enabled them to assess the risk in a community, ensure that appropriate provisions were put in place to ensure safe, healthy drinking. Well, now, this Parliament, those politicians voting for this are saying they know better. They know better than the local communities, they know better than the Law Commission, than all the people who submitted on the 2012 legislation, and they know better than the police. Over a few days' debate and discussion, because they heard from the hospitality industry, where the Green Party is proud to be opposing this and standing up for that disconnecting of the sense that you need a drink to enjoy a game of rugby. That our national identity and patriotism is dependent on having a drink. It's not. We can be proud. And while there's some people saying, you know, look, I'll have a drink, I'll be healthy, there's no harm there. Well, I would then ask you, think of those few people who there will be harm, and those women and children, and think about what you could do to support them. And it's vote against this bill.